Thank you for checking out Tea and a Buddy on YouTube. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Hello, and welcome to the Tea and a Buddy podcast with me, Dominic.
And me, Erica.
And on today's episode, we've finished talking about Outlander.
For this week, anyway.
But it'll be back next week. Don't you worry. Don't you worry, boy. Carol. We're going to be talking about Dallas.
Yeah.
Dallas. Do you know where Dallas is? It's in Texas.
No, it was brought to our attention fairly recently, anyway. I guess it was a little while ago now. All the days run together when you're in quarantine, you know.
We're in quarantine. This is the greatest quarantine you've ever known.
It's the only quarantine any of us have ever known, hopefully. I mean, maybe not. Maybe some
maybe
of you
not.
have been in quarantine before.
Maybe people have been in quarantine before, But the whole world is in quarantine right now.
Yes. Anyway, it was recently-ish brought to our attention that some of you, we do a lot of talking about Britain and Europe in these
the UK
podcasts.
And Europe.
Yeah. And it was recently brought to our attention that some of you would like to hear about Dominic's particularly. I mean, I don't know why you would want to hear about my experiences in Texas.
We need to hear about your experiences in Texas because we need to know it from a Texan's point of view.
But anyway, some of you wanted to hear about Dominic's experiences in Texas, and we had a request from one of our patrons to know specifically about Dallas. So this podcast,
the city, and maybe even the soap opera too. Because that's what I remember. That's before I even knew that Dallas was an actual city. I knew it as a soap opera.
So this podcast is going to be for those of you who would like a British perspective on the city of Dallas and the state of Texas and things like that.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I didn't know that Dallas was one of the most populous cities.
Okay, let's start there then. Before you came to Texas for the very first time,
yes.
You're talking to me, I'm in Austin, you don't really know what that means.
I have no idea what Austin was.
What, you'd surely heard of Dallas, right?
Dallas, yeah, I knew Dallas was the city. I thought it was the only city in Texas for a long time besides Houston.
So, the only, big city.
The only big city,
Not the only
when you were saying,
Austin,
I'm from Austin. I was like, well, Austin what? Austin Powers? I didn't know. So I was just like, I looked up Austin. I was like, oh, it's the state capital? I was like, I thought Dallas was the state capital.
Oh, that's funny,
Actually, I thought it might have been Houston because Houston was where all the space stuff happened,
Yeah.
NASA was there. Houston, we have a problem. Tom Hanks.
No, I think I do remember you saying you thought Dallas was the capital.
I'd assumed Dallas was the state capital, yeah.
Yeah.
I was very uneducated in them days, Didn't even go to school.
So I love how this has become like me interviewing you, but I've even sat back with a notepad, okay, let's talk.
I've sat back here now and I'm just talking,
No, well, it is interesting for me, too, because you and I don't often, reminisce about what...
Our days in Dallas, yeah.
No, about what your ideas were about these places before you got here.
What my preconceived notions were.
Yes. So, what did you think about Dallas? Did you know anything about Dallas?
I knew about Dallas, and I think pretty much if you asked anyone in the world... What do you know about Dallas? Mm-hmm. They'll say, oh, isn't that where that president was shot?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that where that president was shot? What was his name? Abraham Lincoln? No. What was his name? It was JFK.
Really?
John F. Kennedy. Yeah,
Do you think that many people know that happened in Dallas?
Maybe people of my generation. Surely. Hello? People my generation?
Or is that just because you're quite up on American history?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm up on American history, but I know the major points of American history.
If we have other British listeners out there, let us know if you knew.
What do you know about Dallas? And they might go, oh, isn't that the soap opera Dallas? Oh, Cowboys,
Yeah.
Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
Cowboys.
Let us know. I want to know specifically if you knew before this podcast, before this moment, that our president, John F. Kennedy, was assassinated in Dallas. Is that something that is general knowledge around the world? I mean, that's something that most people know?
I think so. I mean, I
That's
don't know.
interesting.
Maybe people younger than me wouldn't know. It's like,
Yeah.
where was JFK assassinated? They wouldn't go to like, oh, it was somewhere in America. You know, maybe they'd say
I would think that people...
Washington. You know?
I would think that people in... Yeah. I would think that people in other countries would just
That's
assume
where
that
Abraham
it
Lincoln
happened
was
in...
assassinated, wasn't it?
I would assume that they would just assume that it had happened in Washington, D.C.
Well, no, people. Unfortunately, Dallas remains infamous in that it was the place where he was shot.
Yeah.
On the 22nd of November, 1963, he was going through Dealey Plaza, which, you know, we've been there now. Well, I've been there now.
Yeah.
Allegedly, we have to say allegedly because he was not brought to trial and he was not convicted of this. He was just convicted by the popular vote.
Did you say by Lee Harvey Oswald?
Lee Harvey Oswald, yeah. Allegedly by Lee Harvey Oswald.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He was not brought... He was killed because he was killed by Jack Ruby. And that's where all the conspiracy theories were born.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much everything was born out of that. The second gunman.
Yeah.
It was all a cover-up. All this kind of like conspiracy theory. The government, the CIA killed him, or the Russians killed him, or because, you know, and Oswald wasn't acting alone, you know, because Oswald himself said, "I'm a patsy," you know.
Yeah.
Because apparently later that day, I think, well, just after he supposedly killed the president, he went and killed an officer, a police officer.
Yeah. Was it later or was it earlier? I can't remember.
Or was it earlier that day? Maybe it was earlier that day, I'm not sure. But yeah, anyway, he was caught for that. Apparently he did do that, they said.
Yeah.
He killed the officer. So, stands to reason he must have killed the president too, you know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what was it, the second floor window?
I can't remember what floor, but yeah.
Fourth floor window, something.
Fourth, I think. Maybe.
Fourth floor window of the school book depository, which is now a museum to the whole thing.
Yeah.
He got a high-powered rifle and he shot him, and of course there's a Zapruder film, and it's been the subject of so many like documentaries and, you know, even the film JFK. He was traveling in an open-air Lincoln Continental, and
yeah,
you know, he was shot twice in the head.
It was like a parade. I don't know if it was a Thanksgiving parade, perhaps. I'm not sure.
I think it was just a parade. He was in Dallas for some reason. Yeah, he was in Dallas, and he was just like, hey, you know, let's do a little, like, everyone can see me, you know. And the governor of Texas, John Connally, was in the front seat of the car. Yeah. And he got hit, too. He got hit by one of the bullets. But he survived. He was fine, you know.
So the area in Dallas where this happened is still a big tourist attraction.
It's still a big tourist attraction. Yeah. It's like, because it was like a Dealey Plaza, it's called. And, you know, the grassy knoll is still there.
Yeah.
You know, the building, which used to be the school book depository, is still there, but it's now the JFK Museum.
Yeah. So if you drive through Dallas around this area, you will see at least a couple of tourists at any given time. Any given time of any given day. There's always somebody out there taking pictures and just like walking around, looking up at the building, you know, looking at the street,
people
trying
sitting
to
around figure out, was there a second gunman?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the big theory, is like there was a second gunman who, because Oswald wasn't that great of a shot, and you know, it was a moving target and everything, you know, he couldn't have done it.
Yeah.
And if even in the road, that's one thing I remember when I first got there, I was like, they've even marked the road.
They marked it on the road.
They've marked it on the road where cars still drive over it. They've marked...
This is where it happened.
The two times that the president got hit, that's where he got hit, right there.
Yeah.
And right there.
Yeah.
And I was just like, God, yeah, it's a morbid fascination. I mean, people...
I can remember the first time we went there when I was a kid, and my brother, who is 5 years younger than me, was quite little. I don't know exactly, I can't remember exactly how old he was, but I'd say maybe 6 or something like that. You know, and we had all been talking about it before we got there. So, you know, he his mind was all, very involved in it, and he likes history, always has anyway. Yeah. But we walked down to that area of the street where it's marked,
Yeah.
And he goes, "Look, you can still see some blood," and this is like, what, 30 years
35
later.
years later, yeah.
It's just like, no, you really cannot still see blood. Yeah, so don't go there expecting to see blood, but yeah, they have...
We never went in, it's just a thing, we never went in the museum because it was like $200 to get in or something. It was it wasn't that much. It was like...
I've still never been
It was quite expensive, and we were just kind of like, do we just want to go up because, this is like... It may not have happened here, It's like, because on the sign it says allegedly, and someone's taking great pains to underscore it on there, because still people out there who believe, he might not have done it, and it was someone else, and this is a big cover up, and because what made this even more fantastical and like a movie was that Lee Harvey himself was shot live on TV.
Yeah,
as he was being brought out and stuff, and then the nightclub owner came and shot him right there, and he died.
And there are people who think he did it to like keep Lee Harvey Oswald quiet, and then other people just say, "Oh no,
he was just doing it for Jackie Kennedy."
He was just crazy. He was pissed off that he had killed the president.
Yeah.
So okay, let's go back now.
Let's go back.
Aside from the JFK, what other ideas did you have in your head?
Everyone was
Dallas?
A cowboy.
Really? Or are you just saying that?
Well, no, I'm just saying that. Everyone, I thought it was like a big oil kind of production, which I guess it kind of is.
I'd say Houston's more.
Yeah, because I guess because side. it's on the water, isn't it? Dallas is not. But yeah, I always thought it was kind of like, it was like where, everybody thought Texas, like the big like head people. The soap opera. It's the soap opera Dallas, which gave everyone this kind of view of it. Like all the rich people lived there, and they drove around, and they were just all like, I'm a Texas oil baron
with the big cigar. Yeah, he just did a motion like a big cigar.
And the cowboy hat and the Stetson, the chop, but they're just like, I'm doing business, I'm doing business, boy. Yeah. They're just kind of like, I'm from Texas, I just kind of, that's how I didn't really know much about it other than the JFK thing,
but you didn't have like a picture in your head of what it was going to look like or anything.
I kind of thought skyscrapers, I kind of imagine that about everywhere in every big city in America, big skyscrapers, skyscrapers all over the place, like New York, like New York, everybody's got that fascination with New York, and then there's LA,
So you didn't have any kind of like cartoonish ideas about Dallas, like we were all, it was dirt streets and we were all going around on horses.
No. A lot of people...
that's silly, really.
It's silly, but I'm sure there's people out there who go, I thought there'd be more horses. I thought there wouldn't be roads here. I thought it was like the Wild West,
everybody would be wearing a gun on their hip and stuff.
Well, yeah, I saw that in Dallas, didn't I? Everybody was wearing a gun on their hip, weren't they? Or was that just me?
So was there anything that surprised you about Dallas the first time we went there then?
Not really. I suppose like with all of like Texas and stuff, people were driving trucks more often than not, the biggest cars and everything, and it's kind of like it's remarkable in that it's unremarkable,
Yeah.
In my because you have that Dallas Fort Worth thing, and that surprised me too that people were going, Dallas Fort Worth, because Fort Worth's like a city like right there beside it, but it's like, well, why isn't it just part of Dallas then, or just called Fort Worth, and they don't call it Dallas Fort Worth?
Yeah. They do,
but they call it Dallas Fort Worth because it's so
the Dallas Fort Worth area.
Yeah.
Because that consists of a lot of towns.
Because there's Decatur.
Basically,
there's like
in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Duncanville, there's all that kind of like areas around there. There's like suburbs of Dallas, I guess.
Cleburne, they're all, but the thing is why it's Dallas-Fort Worth area is because you can move from one city to town to another city to town, and you don't really know that you've left one, and
Yes.
it's turned into the
I
other.
find that a lot in America, though. Well, in Texas, anyway, because, you know, like, you know, you travel up to Dallas, you don't really know you've left one city before you get into the next. You know, it's kind of like that kind of thing. I mean, you know, there's no...
I think that depends on the road you're traveling on.
The 35 corridor.
So if you travel through Texas up I-35, up Interstate 35 for our listeners who are not in America. I-35 is our interstate.
Yeah, it's like a motorway. Yeah, it's like the...
If you travel up I-35, you know, that's a very busy highway. So it's going to be very built up pretty much the whole way along that.
Yeah.
But there are other back ways to travel around Texas where you do get countryside in between towns and hills and just kind of flat plains of
I suppose so,
nothing.
yeah.
I mean, you know, you've been up to the Panhandle.
Yeah, there'd be the flat, because we have to branch off from I-35 to get to the panel because that's northwest Texas. I mean, it's remarkable that it's in the fact that, you know, it was kind of like a lot of
So you did expect it to be very city-like.
Very city-like, yeah. I thought it was going to be very city-like, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that comes from watching the soap opera Dallas when I was a kid, you know. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when we were up there, the theme to Dallas, people were into it over here, too.
I was trying to think of it so I could hum
Who
it.
Shot JR?
And I couldn't think how it went.
Oh,
yes.
It's a very country and western theme. And Larry Hagman, you know.
They tried to revive that a few years ago.
They did.
I don't know if it still comes on. I don't think so.
They kind of nixed it after Larry Hagman died, actually, because he played JR in it again. But yeah, of course, I mean, Dallas was very popular in the UK because it came on at the same time it came on over here. It was like late 70s. And then in the early 80s, they had the Who Shot JR bit, which went crazy all over the world. It was like...
That's really all I can remember. I mean, I was little when it was on. I was very little, so...
It was massive, Who Shot JR. I mean, it was before I was born, but still, you know, when Dallas ended its first run in, like, I think it was the early 90s, I remember when it first ended, you know, its end, you know, because my mother watched it. My mother was big into the soaps. So when it first ended, they talked about, the Who Shot JR phenomenon.
Yeah.
Which was like huge, you know, everybody was talking about it in Britain. And, you know, Larry Hagman said something about he was going on TV shows and they were offering him sums of money to tell them who shot JR, you know, because they wanted to be the first one to do it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was a big deal, definitely. I mean, obviously. One of the biggest things, I think, in television history, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
It's just
the way they did it, I think.
Crazy, yeah. And it was like an 8-month frenzy because it came at the end of a season. Mm-hmm. Of the third season, I think it was, yeah.
I guess maybe it was the first show ever
because
to end on a cliffhanger, like to end a season on a cliffhanger. I think cliffhangers were a thing,
but that was like the biggest time when it became a media frenzy.
Yeah.
You know, and it caught on everywhere in the world. Yeah, that was like... And JR wasn't even the main character of the show. He was kind of like the breakout character.
Yeah.
Because I think it was... originally focused on the marriage of Bobby Ewing and Pamela Barnes. Whose families were sworn enemies with each other, and, you know, oil tycoons and everything, yeah.
Which is funny because I think Dallas and Fort Worth, I think a lot of the money up there comes from ranching.
Ranching, not oil?
I think so. I mean, I could be wrong. I always associated the big oil companies and big oil
with
money
Houston.
To come out of Houston.
Yeah.
But
I think so.
I mean, there's oil tycoons all over Texas, though. I mean, because there was oil all over Texas. You know,
yeah.
You only have to drive around Texas to see the oil derricks and.
Oh yeah, and that's something that
They call those they're like a little. It looks like a horse, you know, because it kind of teeter-totters.
It's a teeter-totter, and it's just kind of... Yeah, no, because they're kind of abandoned, aren't they? But but when we're driving up to the Panhandle, you can see that some of them are just not going, and some of them are going. And I'm like, what are they doing? There's no one around, so what are they doing?
Yeah.
And it's like, are they pumping oil? Is it like a oil pump? I don't know. We'll have to look that up. I you know, that was the first, obviously the first time I'd ever seen one of them, you know. I mean, I didn't see that in Dallas, but, you know, in Texas, that was something that surprised me. There was so many of them, because I have always associated oil coming out of the sea for the most part.
Yeah.
Because people would build oil derricks and oil platforms.
Oil rigs.
Rigs, that's what they're called. My brain's in a fuzz today, people. Oil rigs. And they just drill oil down, you know, into the seabed and everything, and pull it up that way. I mean, obviously they do that in the Gulf. You know, which is that big, huge oil spill. And they've done it all
around Texas.
They've done it all around Texas. Yeah, I mean, I've actually heard a couple of since I've lived here, a couple of, like, you know, transformer explosions. You know, boom, and it's just gone, you know, and it's just gone, you know, like Transformers exploded. You know, it's like, but that's electricity and everything. So.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, is that a common occurrence? Transformers exploding?
I mean, I think in the summertime.
Yeah, maybe.
Possibly, yeah. Okay, anyway, yeah. Dallas. There's a lot of things to do around Dallas.
There's a lot of things to do. The Dallas Heritage Museum was something I really liked doing.
Well, that's something that we did. I wouldn't say that that's one of the most popular things in Dallas.
I loved it, though. Oh, it's so cool. Because, you know, you can go back and, you know, like we were just talking about Outlander. It's like, you know, you can go and, like, experience life in the 19th century Texas, you know.
Yeah.
Because they brought all that stuff. They moved that all from throughout North Texas. So it's like, it wasn't built there originally. They just moved it and put it there and made, like, a street and a village and everything. And I think it's almost entirely public funded.
So what the Heritage Village Museum is it's like a living museum.
It's a living museum. You go down there, it's like a dirt, like, street.
Outside.
It's outside. And the shops are real, and the people in it dress up in, like, period clothing and everything.
They've basically set up, like, turn of the century, Texas.
Pioneer and Victorian stuff, yeah.
Genuine houses, a schoolhouse.
Yeah.
Like, I can't remember if there's, like, a blacksmith shop.
I think there's a blacksmith there.
There's, like, little,
there's
shops,
a general store, there's a
stores.
church, you know.
And it looks like you're on a movie set.
Yeah.
It's basically a park or like a living outdoor museum. You park outside it and you pay to go in. It's the first city
park, yeah.
Yeah. And the thing I like about it is, like you said, it's like going back in time. You're walking around this, like, old Texas village, basically. Yeah. And you can see the Dallas skyline just, like, in the background.
The skyscrapers, yeah. It's a pretty cool skyline Dallas has, actually. It's really cool.
The highway, like,
the highways,
overpasses and stuff in the background.
Concrete jungle.
But basically. It's also quite quiet in some areas. Because, I don't know, I mean, you're fairly close to downtown, and Dallas all over is a pretty bustling
pretty
city.
Spread out, yeah.
But yeah, it's spread out enough that you can be in this little, like, Victorian or turn of the century village and feel like you're actually there. And it's cute, and they do a thing at Christmas where they decorate it all up, and they have carolers and you can get your Christmas shopping done.
That's really
there
cool.
With,
I just remember getting the root beer and stuff from there.
Yeah,
and it was really cool. In the bottles
and it's not something that
old-fashioned candy.
It's not something I ever knew even existed in Dallas. If I'm being honest, I don't know how long it's been there. I don't know if you have that in your notes.
There's a lot we still need to explore about Dallas.
Well, when I used to go to Dallas, like, as a kid and a teenager, we did the obvious things. Like, there's, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, well, actually, between Dallas and Fort Worth, there's a town called Arlington.
Arlington, yeah, and there's Six Flags there, isn't there?
Yeah, and there's a Six Flags Over Texas. I think it might
Six
be
Flags
the original.
Over Texas,
I think
baby.
it might be the original Six Flags. Named Six Flags Over Texas because there were Six Flags Over Texas.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't
Yeah,
know that.
I had no idea about that either. There was Six Flags, and I was just like, well, what flags? Like the state flag and maybe the French flag?
The Texas Republic flag, when we were our own republic. The United States flag. The Mexican flag.
The Mexican flag, yeah.
The Spanish flag, I think.
The Spanish flag, that's 4.
Yeah. Spanish, I think French, too. I think
French.
France owned us at one very brief moment.
Mm.
Spanish, Mexican, French, Texas Republic, Texas state flag, United States flags. Yeah.
Isn't the Texas Republic and the Texas state flag the same, though?
No, I can't remember what the Republic of Texas flag looked like. No,
didn't it have like the Alamo cannon on it or something?
I don't think so. That's like come and take it.
Oh, yeah.
That's a separate thing.
That's a separate thing.
But yes, so in Arlington, they do have the Six Flags Over Texas, which is a theme park like Disneyland or any other theme park. Yeah. With roller coasters and everything. They also have the Texas Rangers baseball park.
Oh, yeah, and the Dallas Cowboys
football stadium.
Which is in Arlington, yeah, all of that in Arlington.
Yeah.
We went to see Paul McCartney there. Oh, no, we didn't. We went to see the Rolling Stones there.
At the Cowboy?
Yes.
No, we saw
Paul and
oh,
the Stones?
no, maybe it was the Stones. It
was the Stones because I remember it was Jerry, they call it Jerry World.
Oh, that's right. No, we saw Paul McCartney at the
Houston
AT&T Center.
AT&T Center.
Yeah, which is just their arena for...
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Jerry World, we saw the Rolling Stones, and the sound was pretty awful.
The Dallas-Fort Worth area has one of the biggest airports in the country, too.
Yeah.
DFW Airport.
Oh, yeah. I've never flown out of there.
Yeah.
Or flown in.
Yeah. I think we have.
No?
Oh, well, I have multiple times when I would come see you.
Yeah, no, I've only flown into Houston.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I've never...
Houston, Austin. Oh, yeah. I guess so, yeah.
I've never flown out of there, really. So.
Okay, yeah. Well, I have.
Yeah, so you can talk about that then, can't you?
It's a big airport, that's all there is to say, yeah. It's huge, yeah. It's an international airport, and it's just gigantic. And therefore, there's a lot of stuff around the area, shopping centers, and all the kinds of stuff you would really expect in a big city. They have all the arenas and everything that, for, musicians and everybody to play in, sports
I know
teams.
why you think I flew out of there, because we took your mum.
Oh, to the airport.
To the airport.
Maybe so. Yeah, I was like, I was sure.
Because I remember,
we've
been to the airport, but we never flew out of there.
No. They have the Dallas Mavericks, which is a basketball team.
No, not into basketball.
They have the Dallas Stars, which is a hockey team.
Not into hockey either. Sorry.
Yeah, but they have pretty much all the major league sports that we have in America. Dallas has a team. Except, I guess, soccer. I don't...
Oh, there must be a soccer team,
possibly.
Surely.
They hold the Texas State Fair in Dallas every year, which we've never been to.
We've never been to the State Fair.
I hate admitting that we've never been to some of these things. It's just like, what do we do with our time? I don't know.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do we do with our time?
They've got a great museum, a great zoo, which we have been to. They do have art museums, and they've got all the stuff you'd expect in cities. Yeah. And they do, and everybody that lives in Dallas and in Texas in general does not go around in cowboy boots and cowboy hats.
Well, I've seen a couple of them do that.
Yeah. But
you can't say that about everyone now.
But we have paved roads and skyscrapers.
Skyscrapers, and it's...
There's not like shootouts in the you know.
No, I haven't seen that yet.
Town Square and all of that.
There's still time for all that, though. There's still time.
Let us know if you guys have any specific questions about Dallas. We weren't exactly sure what all to talk about in this podcast because, like Dominic mentioned before, Dallas is essentially an American city, much like you would find in any other state.
Yeah.
There's some cool things to see in Dallas.
Going to Dallas. Everybody. Would be just the same as going to maybe... I mean, what's Dallas? Do you do that over here twinned with Dallas, Texas, twinned with...
I think they do, but I don't know. I don't buy into that.
I don't buy into that.
I don't know what any of that means. No,
they twin
oh,
these
yeah,
towns.
we do.
Yeah,
we do that, but I
they
don't
do
know
that in Britain too. They twin like cities and towns and stuff with other countries, cities and towns.
Like a
and
country
all that,
in Europe or something. I don't know why. Yeah, I think they do that. I don't know what that is all about.
You know what it's all about, mate.
One other thing that just came to mind really quickly was just outside of Dallas, we also went to see, which actually I don't think that it's public property, but we went to go see Clyde Barrows.
Bonnie and Clyde, yeah.
Of Bonnie and Clyde fame, yeah.
Bonnie and Clyde fame.
His
remember that movie?
His
Faye
headstone.
Dunaway and
yeah, maybe some people out there don't realize that he was a real person. I don't know.
Who was it? Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty.
Yeah. Anyway, let us know if there's anything specific you want to know about Dallas or anywhere else in Texas, particularly. Dominic and I have not traveled outside of Texas too much together. I could possibly answer some of your questions about some of the other American cities, but
yes,
we definitely, I think we have a goal of doing that at some point, taking a road trip through America and like hitting
states,
yeah,
doing the Tornado Alley,
hitting as many states as possible, just to see. I mean, I think it's something everybody who lives anywhere should do with the place where they live. You know,
yeah.
Get to know your own place. So many people like to go to other countries or...
Well, yeah.
You know, and it's
just
I mean,
that's what I always wanted to do, is like a road trip around the states, you know.
Yeah. And
all 50 states in 5 weeks.
And really,
it can be done, apparently.
And
but,
really,
I mean, you have to be
never...
driving really fast.
And really, I never... I mean, I hate to say it, but I never really cared that much
about doing that.
Yeah.
Well, no,
I wanted to travel out of America.
Yeah,
you know, I wanted to go.
And there's people over here that don't care about traveling outside their own city, you know, and or their own state. You know, they've never been outside their own state. They don't own a passport.
But we've seen a lot of vloggers that we like to watch have traveled around America, and it's just absolutely beautiful. And I'm proud to be an American, so I definitely
proud to be an American.
I definitely would like to see some of these places. You know,
yeah,
where I live. I don't know what I don't know
what the rest. Where you live.
I don't know what the rest of that thought was supposed to be, but yeah,
that
happens sometimes. You guys just like.
Ugh.
My train of thought goes off.
It's just been a quarantine-y kind of day.
Yeah.
We're just going crazy in quarantine right now. My brain's a fug.
Yeah. And I think that's it.
I think that's it, everybody.
I apologize.
Thank you for listening to our Dallas episode.
I apologize if these were not the kinds of things you wanted to know about Dallas. Let us know what the kinds of things you would like to know about, the things you are curious about, and we can do another episode, of course. As I said, any other cities in Texas you're curious about, or just things in general about anything, anywhere. I mean, we are stuck in this house for the foreseeable future.
Stuck. Literally stuck.
And we have nothing but time to devote to podcasts for you guys. So, there you go.
Yeah.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you for your time.
No.
Thank you for listening. We love you, and we will talk to you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.